value in 3 weeks after the IMF pulled the plug on government's dollar cushion.
This is also, I will not say this is bad news. It is not really the case of celebrating aggressive strengthening of the currency. I think that the depreciation we are seeing, or the correction that we are seeing, will be more important in aligning with market dynamics. If we did everything right, we expect that on an annual basis, the cedi will still depreciate by a certain percentage, and I think the cedi will find its level soon.
Tonight we ask, how will this affect businesses? Stay with us because we'll hear from the business community. My name is Faustina Safo. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecom, Connecting Energies. Thanks for choosing us. Tonight, the cedi has slipped from grace. Once celebrated as the best performing currency, it now ranks amongst the worst, losing more than 13% against the dollar in just 3 weeks. Over the past 8 months, the cedi staged a dramatic comeback, rising from 15.5 to the dollar in February to 10.3 in June, a gain of nearly 20%, and at its height over 40%. In April, the Bank of Ghana governor dismissed speculation of large-scale intervention to prop up the cedi, but by July, the IMF urged the central bank to scale back its support in the forex market. My colleague Caleb Zibilim joins me in the studio. You've been going through some of the research on the cedi trend, and you're joining me just to give our audience updates. Let's start with the performance of the cedi this year, going from the best to the worst in just the third quarter of 2025. What exactly went wrong?
Okay, yeah, so Faustina, so the cedi this year has had a very dramatic year. We started 2025 with it trading at 14 cedis 70 pesos to the dollar, and by February it had weakened slightly to 15 cedis 50 pesos and stayed there until April, making it one of the longest periods of stability we've seen in more than a decade. Then the surprise came. Between April and May, the cedi strengthened sharply, moving from 15 cedis 50 pesos at the end of April to about 10 cedis 30 pesos by the end of May. From May through July and into early August, the cedi stayed stable again, hovering around 10.3 and 10 cedis 50 pesos. But from mid-August, the tide turned, and in just 3 weeks, the cedi has slipped from 10 cedis 50 pesos to 11 cedis 90 pesos currently.
But what has changed really that explains this renewed depreciation?
So externally, nothing has changed. In fact, the global conditions still favor the cedi. Gold prices are at a record high. The US dollar remains subdued partly because of Donald Trump's policies, and the US Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates soon. That usually weakens the dollar and further drives up gold prices, again benefiting Ghana. So the pressure is more internal. Now, the money sent from abroad has appeared to slow down, while imports have gone up, and traders rush to take advantage of the stronger cedi to stock up ahead of the season. So there are more imports currently because traders want to stock up as the cedi is strong now ahead of December. And that's created more demand for dollars. And at the same time, there are signs that the Bank of Ghana has scaled back its dollar interventions into the market.
But why exactly is the Bank of Ghana reducing forex supply?
So we don't know for certain yet, but there are some clues. So when the IMF visited Ghana earlier in this year and they came out with their reports in July, it raised concerns that the Bank of Ghana was intervening too heavily in the forex markets. And we know that in the first 3 months of this year, that's from January, February, and March, the Bank of Ghana injected 1.4 billion into the forex markets. And in that same period from January, February, and March, the cedi stayed at 15 cedis 50 pesos. So by intuition, we know that by the time the cedi appreciated heavily from 15 cedis 50 pesos to 10 cedis 30 pesos, there might have been stronger interventions from the Bank of Ghana. But we know for a fact that in the first 3 months, the BOG intervened with $1.4 billion. And in response to this intervention, the IMF and the Bank of Ghana agreed to introduce a formal policy to guide interventions. And this is supposed to take effect by the end of September 2025. And we are now starting September. So this means that the recent slowdown may be the Bank of Ghana testing its approach before full implementation by the end of February 2025. And alongside this, the Bank of Ghana has also been tightening its regulations, reminding businesses that pricing in dollars is illegal, enforcing declaration rules for travelers carrying forex, blocking firms from withdrawing dollars they have never deposited, and also requiring strict documentations before importers can access foreign reserves. So these regulations by the Bank of Ghana seem to have stoked speculators, thinking that there's something wrong behind the scenes. So they are trying to get dollars as they can now before it goes up.
Thank you so much. Our research team just setting the tone now for our discussion today. Well, let's explore this further here on Top Story. Join me now is Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfred Bokping. Also joining me on the phone lines is Deputy Ranking Member on the Economy and Development Committee in Parliament, Kodria Chinibwa. On the phone lines as well is Head of Business and Economic Bureau at GUTA, Charles Kusi Apia. I appreciate your time, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Prof, because we want to get an understanding. Earlier this year, you described the cedi appreciation as aggressive. Given the recent 13% slide, would you consider this as a natural course correction?
Well, good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners. Yes, to some extent, we had expected it. Usually, when you see such aggressive strengthening of a currency, after a while, what is supposed to be accompanied by some level of reversals, right? A correction along the path. So what we are seeing is consistent with our exposition. Bear that in mind. But we should also just understand that if you look at around the time where we saw the aggressive strengthening of the currency, we had indicated that the economy itself and its ability to absorb foreign exchange was relatively subdued, given also that government was tightening the expenditure and then also favorable external conditions and Bank of Ghana's intervention. All of that contributed to the aggressive strengthening. But we had also indicated that we needed to have stabilized the currency much earlier than allowing it to appreciate to the level where it got to, because historically, when you see that it was going to be difficult to sustain it at that level, especially when the economy recalibrates itself to full strength, bear in mind that what we are happening right now, and we had indicated this more than 2 months ago, that we considered that there was pressure on the currency, and that businesses were having challenges getting the desired foreign exchange to meet their imports and the rest of them. And also ahead of Christmas and all of that, there will be uptick in all of this. So what we are seeing should also not create panic. It doesn't mean that the central bank has lost control. I think they've done quite well. I think that government overall has done well in terms of the tighter expenditure control in resetting the economy 2025. But as we indicated earlier, that the extent to which the cedi appreciated certainly signals some level of reversal in the immediate, probably towards the end of the year and all of that. So there should be no panic. We should also bear in mind that the fifth review under the IMF-supported program should be happening probably towards the end of September or maybe first week of October, thereabouts. I'm sure government will be looking at their coming and making sure that in terms of the strong footprint that the central bank had in the market, and also the understanding in terms of FX operation. They normalized all of that. So there's a certain natural cause that we are seeing here, and they should not fuel panic. I think that to some extent, this is also good for us because you see, if you look at where the exchange rate had appreciated to, it was always going to be difficult to sustain it at that level.
Let me come in at this point, Prof. You say this is good for us and that the Bank of Ghana is not losing control. But if we look at the IMF latest review report for July, to be precise, they pressed on the Bank of Ghana to scale back forex interventions. And I'm wondering, how should the Bank of Ghana strike the balance really? Because on one hand, you want market forces to work, but on another hand, you need to protect the cedi.
Yes, so under the exchange rate mechanism that we operate, we call that one largely dirty or managed flexible exchange rate. No country allows purely the forces of demand and supply just to determine the exchange rate. Nobody does that. A certain level of intervention is to be expected from Bank of Ghana if it considered that the volatility was way beyond what was acceptable, and also the central bank could enter the market, buy or sell dollars on its own account. So that is not strange. And if you check over the years, but the extent of the intervention in itself would also raise a question whether it's really the forces of demand and supply or it was more from the intervention of the central bank. And we all do agree with the IMF. Even before the IMF released their report, we had raised concern about the extent that we were probably burning our reserves to the extent in driving the exchange rate to where it was. But granted that what we saw, just look at the balance and the dislocation in the economy. The question is whether that aggressive strengthening of the currency overall will inure to the benefit of the economy. Of course, we've seen prices coming down, but bear in mind that if you look at the data from Ghana Statistical Service, August last year to August this year, prices on the average have gone up by 11.5%, right? That's positive. So prices are increasing, except that the rate is much slower than before. But we can also take solace in the fact that if you look at month on month, we could see that in the month of August 2025, prices went down by 1.3% or so. So from probably if you look at month on month, we can see that there's a decrease, but that decrease certainly doesn't match the corresponding aggressive strengthening of the currency, and that will be consistent with the general assumption in economics that prices are upwardly flexible and downwardly sticky, especially in our markets where the market is not efficient, the pass-through is weak, and all of that. And therefore, one would have to be very careful in pushing down prices because from the angle of just exchange rates. But to the extent that the aggressive strength of the currency cannot be traced to structural transformation in the economy or greater economic transformation within the real sector, then you know that certainly there will be pressure somewhere along the line. So some level of correction is to be expected.
Stay with me. Let me bring in now the head of Business and Economic Bureau at Kuta, Charles Kusiapia. You are on the receiving end, really. As traders, you're already feeling the pinch because of the cedis beginning to weaken again. How are you coping with this? Is this affecting imports already?
Good evening to you and to your listeners. It is. The point is this. The challenge of business now is availability of forex, which of course has been the influence of this stage. If we can have access to forex to meet our import demand, such infractions in terms of our rate probably could be managed within our spaces. However, we would have wished we could have probably maintained a lower forex rate, but that is not what is happening. We have made the argument that this inflation that we are experiencing is influenced by the gain of the cedi. So when cedis start weakening in terms of its value, it as well will mean that there will be a translation to higher inflation, which of course will deplete the income disposable of consumers. So the cycle obviously will come and hit us as sales and economic growth will be stagnated. We understand Bank of Ghana is being strategic in terms of its market intervention. But if it's going to hurt the economy, why didn't they develop a strategy that will ensure that businesses' foreign import demands are met timely and also manage speculation? You know, some of these surge, apart from what I've stated, is also influenced by negative speculation. That when I'm able to access forex from the market, the little that I can get, I should be able to hold it. Not for transaction, but for a store of value. So if Bank of Ghana could be very strategic in terms of its intervention in the market, we could be able to manage this negative speculation, which will reduce the pressure that we've mounted on our city.
Okay, but let's speak realistically here. The festive season is fast approaching, and I know that for some of you, the traders, you have stocked up when the cedi was doing very well. So should we expect that you should be pushing this marginal depreciation on us, the consumers?
I always say businesses have a certain limit on which they can absorb certain costs. Beyond that limit, that cost obviously will be passed on to the consumer. That is why conversation of forex become so emotionally attractive to us as businesses, because it forms part of the fundamentals of our businesses. A depletion of our cedi affects our working capital. It increases our cost of borrowing, which of course we are supposed to pass on said costs to our consumer. And the challenge has always been, if we're able to pass on these costs to the consumer, does it have the ability, the purchasing power to absorb this extra cost? That is the question that we should be answering. So we should be managing how we talk about the forex in a negative way and see how best we can all come together and say, okay, Bank of Ghana, if by IMF condition you are not supposed to come to the market at a certain rate, can you talk to the mining sectors that instead of selling their forest, you sell it to the commercial banks? In that way, you are not coming to the market. So we can have access to forest. You see, the moment there's excess supply of forest to the market, demand will reduce. The moment demand starts going down, of course, our cedi will start gaining strength again. That should be the narrative.
And even if the cedi gains its strength again, the biggest concern for consumers has always been that you fail to pass on the gains to the consumers. The last time Guta gave a timeline that they'll review prices, you say traders have reduced prices, but when we go to the market, we're failing to see that. I'll come to you for a response on that. But let me bring in the Deputy Ranking Member on the Economy and Development Committee in Parliament, Kodria Chinimwa. We appreciate your time here on Top Story. You must feel vindicated, really, because government has always defended its macroeconomic management throughout the cedi appreciation. But right now, there's a nosedive.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to our listeners. I wish my comments earlier on would be played, and I believe that would even settle the issues, because I spoke about all this earlier on. It's not, and I want to put this, across before even I come in, that it's not as if someone is not wishing well for the economy or anything of that sort, but the reality is the reality, and the reality is what we are seeing now. We said earlier on that whatever that was happening, that we were applauding the government for the cedi's gain, were not anything structural in nature. The economy was not structurally changed, neither had anything significantly been done to turn around the economy, to see the gains that the cedi was making. Okay, we were benefiting from happenings across the world, and that was not anything that we were doing well locally. That saw the cedi strengthening to that extent. Okay, again, the finance minister was not spending. We said this, was not making payments, was holding his purse tightly, and that is not sustainable. Now, naturally, cash has to flow, and we're seeing the results. Okay, now he has no choice than to start spending. BOG, to what extent, for how long, how sustainable would you continue pouring dollars into the market where we do not have any published framework, nothing? Interventions are supposed to be interventions. That is where it gets, that term is supposed to be an intervention. It's not supposed to be something sustained that you are just, pouring dollars into the market. We have no idea, the plan, the structure, the framework. You just put in dollars into the market. It's not sustainable. Where are you going to get this to sustain the cedi that you are trying to hold, so much? Market forces should be allowed to work. And I get Prof. Bobbin's point that, you can intervene. And I allude to that. You can intervene, but not on a sustaining basis, because you can't sustain it anyway. So all these are now coming out, and this is the reality, and we have to accept it. Because if the economy was changed structurally, we shouldn't be in this at this point in time. The economy, if it was structurally changed, we shouldn't be in this at this time. If I had data now, I would have just shown a trend as to where our balance of payment is pointing at this time. And I can bet that it will follow consistently with the value of the cedi that we are seeing now. So it's not magic. It's just the way it is. This is the reality that we are seeing.
So from where you sit, it is not sustainable for the Bank of Ghana to intervene. But as Parliament, you have a role to play to ensure fiscal discipline. Do you think from where you sit, there's enough transparency around how the Bank of Ghana is managing reserves and interventions?
You see, that's why I said we should be publishing, okay, we should be having a framework published on FX interventions. That should be clear. There shouldn't be some secrecy that this is being done in a clandestine way, that BOG just comes in on its own way, pour dollars into the market. Where is BOG getting these dollars? Our FX reserves, we should have a good sense of how it's being spent. And as a committee on economy, we should be updated on all these. We've had meetings with the governor and his team. All these should be made, clear to us, and we should be able to release this to the public. People should be able to plan with these. These are not speculations. People should be able to plan with these. So all that I'm saying is what we are seeing now is the reality, and it's just corroborating what we said earlier on. That's why I started by saying you could play my tapes for people to just compare and see that it's just consistent with
Should
what
we expect
said
that
on.
When Parliament reconvenes, you would be calling the finance minister as well as the Bank of Ghana governor just to brief the House on some of these changes we're seeing?
I think it will be in order. We have already had meetings with the governor, and we've given indications that even, right after the MPC meetings are held, we want to meet to understand, certain issues, because we would want to give out far more information than we have currently. So, like I said, businesses need information to be able to plan. Okay, so all these, we should be updated as a committee on economy. Okay, we should be updated. We are there to serve the public. If you give us the information, we will make things available to the public, to the business community, for them to plan. we don't want these to come out abruptly because people were, all clapping here and there. And if you're a business that had no access to significant data, you might be expecting a trend, as we saw in the first two quarters, thinking, oh, the cedi was, it was just moving on. It was moving on, and you might not be able to predict or project well to support your business. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in this corner, and that is going to hurt. And who would be blamed for this?
So you'll be pushing this when the House reconvenes, right?
And relay this to the public for them to plan.
So you'll be pushing this when the House reconvenes, right?
Definitely, it's the right thing to do.
Okay, Deputy Ranking Member on the Economy and Development Committee in Parliament, Kodia Chinibwa, join us here on Top Story. We appreciate your time. Let me wrap up with Charles Kusiapia. He's Head of Business and Economic Bureau at GUTA. As a consumer, I'm hoping that you would not push this on us. Is that the case? Should we expect an increment in prices?
That would be an early speculation. Just as I indicated, there's a certain level of cost that, as businesses, we are ready to bear. If this variance is within set parameters, of course, we will not overburden the consumer. That is why it is imperative that the central bank is able to manage this surge so that it doesn't go beyond the acceptable rate of our cost. And also be able to manage speculation. Speculation have influenced at the rate at which forests also perform in the country. We are concerned about our consumers because they are the reasons why we are into business. And if we decide to pass on our cost and they can't bear that cost, what's their sense of passing on that cost? So it is in the interest of the economy, the interest of every player within the economy to ensure that there's stability, there's availability, and there's reasonable environment for everybody to live a very peaceful and productive life.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time here on Top Story. He is Head of Business and Economic Bureau at GUTA, Charles Kusiapia. Let me wrap up with Professor Godfred Bokwing. Just 1 minute, really. How do we ensure that the cedi is stable moving forward?
I think that if you look at the performance of the currency from the beginning of the year to date, you look at the role of government from beginning of this year and then also what the central bank has done. I think they've done quite well. This reversal that we are seeing, for me, should not create any panic. But it's quite consistent with our expectations, and therefore there should be calm, and that the situation should not inure to panic in the system. I think that is how we should view it. And if you look at the measures that the central bank has also rolled in terms of control and the rest of them, yes, some of them will take a while before they elicit the greater compliance that we expect. But I think that there should be no panic. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your time here on Top Story. My name is Faustina Safa, and that's how we wrap up Top Story. I'm handing over the baton to Evan Spencer for Newsnight.
Small money day, big money day, where too much money day. Telecom Too Much Money promo drop. If for dial *500#, then join them for the Telecom Too Much Money promo inside. You feel win 100 Ghana cedis cash for the daily draws, 20,000 Ghana cedis for the weekly draws, then 1.2 million Ghana cedis for the grand draw inside. That be 1.2 million Ghana cedis. You for just reload airtime, then get points where if make you win. Make you dial *500# or go the Telecom Play app top. Then book inside riders give the Telecom Too Much Money promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Telecel, connecting energies.
This promo will be NLA where they regulate them for the Caritas Lottery platform top.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me da na ma da with holy insecticide spray. Holy
Mosquito Quell Holy Multi-Purpose Insecticide Spray. Dana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
No. You look so relaxed and cheerful these days. What's your secret?
No secret, Kofi. I just sorted out my retirement with Shield Pension Trust. You should talk to them.
Retirement? There's more time before pension.
Share. The earlier you start, the better. And Shield Pension Trust makes this so easy for you. They've got amazing plans to choose from. I even signed up for the Shield Cedi Crow a Day personal pension scheme, which lets you save as little as 1 Ghana Cedi a day towards your retirement. Isn't that great?
1 CD a day.
Exactly. And the best part is, I sign up automatically on the Dacia Promoting Plan, which guarantees me medical insurance when I go on retirement.
Hey, you've convinced me. I need to sign up now.
Kofi is making a move to secure his future and health insurance when he goes on retirement. What about you? Go to Shield Pension Trust or call us now on 050-915-0253 and we'll guide you through securing your pension tomorrow. Shield Pension Trust, into the future with you.
Announcing Ghana's first unlimited photocopier leasing. Yes, from just 983 Ghana cedis, you can lease a multifunctional photocopier and print unlimited. Yes, unlimited and free paper every month. Guess what? That's not all. Toners, repairs, and maintenance all are free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244 644048. I repeat, or call 0244 644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valix Lease, affordable document management solutions.
"30 years of joyfulness." Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. This news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, chronic lack of beds compelled doctors at Greater Accra Regional Hospital to attend to women in labor on chairs.
Just behind you, there are some chairs there. People sit on sometimes for a day. Pregnant woman in labor sitting, it's really not best. So it's something that we need to look at.
We'll hear from hospital officials as they share their they are working to make it. We'll hear from hospital officials on this story.
Also tonight, here on Newsnight, the MPP minority in Parliament sounds alarm about government's decision to merge AT, formerly Airtel Tigo, with Telecom Ghana following AT's $10 million loss in first 8 months of 2025.
My concern is that having two companies managing 32 million does not create, it's more like creating it's a monopolized environment. There's a need to bring in more of these telcos to come and create more opportunities for Ghanaians.
We have the latest as AT's debt and liabilities in 2024 crossed 3.5 billion cedis. Stay with us in business.
Well, Forex trading on interbank market picks up marginally after surging dollar auction from the Bank of Ghana.
I want to join us with your comments here on Newsnight. Plus, President Mahama stops $15 million annual rent ritual for Ghana's foreign missions as Cabinet approves brand new initiative to ensure Ghana's missions abroad are housed in properties owned by the Republic.
And the reset agenda requires an immediate reversal of this trend. And that is why Cabinet has promptly approved the STRIDE initiative. And STRIDE refers to the strategic transition from rental to developing our own properties. I've tasked the Ministers for Foreign Affairs and Finance to work urgently to resolve this long-standing challenge.
In sports tonight,
Ghanaians expressed disappointment as Black Stars blow chance to go 6 points clear after draw with Chad.
And you want to share your thoughts with us here on Newsnight 055-11-11997. Let's start at the Ridge Hospital.
Tonight, pregnant women in labor at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital are being forced to receive medical attention on chairs due to a lack of beds. Hospital authorities have made this revelation to Parliament Health Committee during a tour of the facility this afternoon. Listen to the head of obstetrics and gynecology unit, Dr. Martin Owusu-Boama.
The bed availability and human resource. So just behind you, there are some chairs there. People sit on. Sometimes, I dare say, for a day. I mean, it is not the best.
Whole day.
Yes, because the place is full. The place is full. There's no bed. And you can't, I mean, sometimes you tell them to even to look at other facilities and they don't want to go. It's yes here. So what we do is I will put measures in place so that when we are doing the review, we also go there and review them. But obviously, it is not the best. Yes, I mean, a pregnant woman in labor sitting, yes, it's really not the best. So it's something that we need to look at. I think management is well aware of that. Yes, this facility came with a lot of CTGs when it was, but most all of them broke down. Thankfully, I think just about 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I think we got a few more back to line. So we have 1 or 2 here, and one at labor triage.
Those ones are repaired ones.
Repaired? They're repaired ones. They're repaired ones, and really because it's a high risk facility, I mean most of our labor cases we need continuous monitoring, which the CTG becomes very useful. So it is something that we need to ensure that we have adequate numbers.
Well, we also learned today, Pearl, that lack of proper accommodation and adequate accommodation at the hospital is also affecting nurses who are having to travel long distances to the hospital.
We all don't stay here, and it's a major challenge. You talk to my nurses, they take 2 or 3 trucks before they get to work. If you live at Kaswa and you work at Range, it's a major problem. So these are some of the things that, it's not everything that is about money, but little things will go a long way to make the nurse happy at work.
As for accommodation, it's a major issue. We have people coming from Dodowa, Amasama. I come from Kaswa on a daily basis. So it's a major issue. Yes, we have very few, but we have on campus, we're giving to the house officers. And even the house officers, just about a quarter or a fifth of them who have accommodation. So it's a major challenge for staff in general.
And we'll be hearing pretty shortly from the Parliament's health committee members who were at the Ridge Hospital. We'll also hear from the health ministry pretty shortly on the concerns that were laid before the health committee today. But there's a major story that has been developing all day about a significant merger between AT, formerly Airtel Tigo, with Telecom. Following AT's $10 million loss in the first 8 months of 2025, and the MPP minority side is sounding an alarm about that. I've been hearing from the communications minister today, and he has been talking about why this was important. George, he says a merger is necessary to stop the drainage of taxpayers' funds and redirect resources to other critical infrastructure such as roads, water, and schools. But the MPP minority warned it will create grave market distortions. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, here is a news desk report highlighting why this merger is needed and how it will affect consumers.
The government is merging AT Ghana with Telecom to cut costs and build a stronger competitor in Ghana's telecom market. AT's finances are in bad shape. In the first 8 months of 2025, the company lost $10 million. Last year, it recorded a 785 million Ghana cedi loss, and over the past 5 years, total losses have hit 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. Worst of it, is its 3.6 billion Ghana cedi debt, now outweighing its 2.8 billion Ghana cedi equity. Put simply, if AT were sold today, the proceeds would not be enough to settle what it owes. Meanwhile, the market is heavily tilted in favor of MTN, which controls 73.9% of subscribers, nearly 29.5 million users. Telecom follows with 18.3%, representing 7.29 million users, while AT trails with just 7.9%, representing 3.15 million users. After the merger, Telecom and AT will combine their base to reach 10.44 million users, boosting their market share to 26.1%. Still, they would remain far behind MTN. So what does this mean for you, the consumer? By moving 80 users on Telecel's network, coverage and internet speeds are expected to improve. A stronger Telecel could introduce more competitive data bundles to challenge MTN. However, given MTN's overwhelming dominance, real price cuts may take time to materialize. On the flip side, competition will now be between two giants, which experts fear could reduce competitiveness in the market. The Communications Minister has assured that no jobs will be lost and customers will be protected throughout the transition, which is already underway and expected to be completed by the end of the year. Anthony Menu, Joy News Research.
And Evans, there is more on this because we've been speaking to some 80 customers who have welcomed the move.
AT Ghana has seen many changes over the years. Airtel, which started as Westel, and Tigo, which began as Mobitel, merged in 2017 to form Airtel Tigo. Financial struggles, however, led to a government takeover in 2021 and later a rebrand in 2023 to form AT Ghana. The company is, however, set to merge again with Telecel Ghana, itself a product of transformation from Ghana Telecom to Vodafone and now to Telecel Ghana. But what do Ghanaians make of yet again another merger in the telecom space?
I've not heard about it, not really. I wish if they could come together and improve upon the network, I'll be very glad. For my area, since 3 days, my phone network is off, and which is really not helping. So if AT2Go is going to merge with Telecel to improve upon the network, then it will be better, because we are all looking for good things.
No, that would be great.
Why would it be great?
As for me, Telecel is very good to me. Like, no fraud, like other networks. It's very good because no one has ever come on Telecel that, oh, this person has sent money, so I should send it back to. No, it doesn't work like that. So maybe it will be great.
Me the mihu enu say anka kambo ebeboa because see me wahano.
A merger will be good. I use 80, but their services are not good in some areas.
Ebia opese oyi sikakura ewo tigonua onya. Ema mi maja eto.
Even withdrawing money can be a struggle sometimes.
So I believe
the merger might help strengthen their services.
As the telecom space continues to evolve, many will be watching how mergers like these impact service quality and competition in the industry. From the Airtel Tigo headquarters right here in Accra, I'm Noella Karaniali. And this is Joy News.
Well, we'll be hearing from the minority side today. They're sounding an alarm about this particular merger. I want to bring in the MP for Imparaiso, Davis Ansonpoku. He's a member of Parliament's Information Communications Committee. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. Also joining me for a conversation is Apia Kusi Adomako. He's the West African Regional Director of the Consumer Unity and Trust Society, CATS International. And many of you, obviously, who use AT and Telecel have a say on this matter. So share your thoughts with me. And Davis and Sopoku, what do you make of this merger? Smart move by government.
For me, I think it's a smart move. First of all, the fact that jobs are guaranteed, for me, that is a move that we would all support. Our only concern is that what really would change. We have a market that is more of a monopolized market. I mean, today MTN enjoys about 70% of the market share. And so what really would Telecel be doing? I mean, it's important that as a country, we appreciate that there's no level playing field in the telecom industry. Since that one industry, one company is enjoying a lot of room to operate, and they determine market prices and all of that. And those are the areas that we need to restructure. Because the dangerous bit is that having two companies as telecom providers in this country is a bit dangerous. It stifles competition.
So when you say
an enabling environment where
when you say two companies,
now you'd have MTN and Telecel battling out for space. What if at the point they decide to determine how the market is regulated? Then we are all in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, but we currently have a situation where AT is bleeding, and you've applauded the fact that this is the way to go. Yes, this way, in essence, leave you with two service providers. It is really a marketplace where if you have the muscle, you are allowed to enter this market. Nobody is forcing others not to enter the market. So that is still a door open to those who feel they have the muscle to enter.
See, the market should be attractive to the consumer or to the company, the investor that is coming in.
You think it's not?
I mean, yes, I think that it is not. And it is not the point that I'm raising just to, let's say, blame the current government. It's been there. I mean, we've seen success companies make attempt to come into our country. They come, they do the business survey, and then realize that things are not all that good in this country. So we need to sit down as a people, look at why companies are unable to come, the big telcos are unable to come into our country, and find a way of rectifying it. That said, Evans, I'm praying that the minister informs Parliament of this measure. I mean, it's important that we get to know what liabilities there are, if any, for the state. We own 100% shares in 80. We own 30% shares in 80, meaning that foreign company has about 70% shares in 80. If there's this arrangement, the Ghanaian people need to know, and we want to know the details in it.
Is it mandatory? Is it mandatory for him to come before you on this matter?
Well, because it involves a foreign interest. Because it involves a foreign interest, I think it's mandatory that it comes to Parliament. And I think I will quote Article 181. Article 181, which provides that for any company that is taken up in such circumstances, they ought to come to Parliament to seek for the appropriate ratifications. So I think it's mandatory that they appear before Parliament for us to understand. These are public interests. These are monies that are being banded around and all of that. So we ought to be able to appreciate what is going in and what is coming out.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Apia Kusi Adomako, who is the Director of Consumer Unity and Trust Society, CATS. And Mr. Adomako, this is obviously good for government stopping the bleeding as far as AT is concerned, but is it good for the consumer?
Good evening, Evans. I think this is good for the consumer and also good for the market in the long run.
How exactly?
One, with Airtel Tigo coming together, they are going to have this kind of efficiency. That is, some of the assets that they don't need, they will sell it. In the long run, this will reduce their cost of operation. Reduced cost of operation means that their cost of providing services will go low, and consumers will benefit from reduced tariff from the medium to long term. And that also means that they will also be able to compete with MTN, Scancom in terms of price. However, this measure alone without other spectrum allocation to also allow this new entity to have access to 4G spectrum will still not cause people to shift from MTN to the new merged entity. So we need more than the measures.
I mean, as it stands now, you make the point about this being in the interest of the consumer, but you heard Davis and Selpoku there making the point about creating a monopoly, one with 70% plus, another one with that's shy of 30%. You don't have a choice in the matter now, and the two can then conspire to determine and fix prices.
Yes, let me say that the presence of multiple players in the market will not necessarily lead to competition. And having two firms also in the market also is prone to some kind of cartels or some form of anti-competitive issues. And this explains the need for Ghana to have a competition law. Unfortunately, this competition bill has been there for the past 18 years, and it has not seen the light of the day. With a very strong competition law, conduct that tends to conspire against consumer interests and other interests in the market are all criminalized under the law. When you look at what is happening in Europe, for example, we've heard many times that the European Union is going after big tech for engaging in anti-competitive practices. So beyond these major issues, I think that we need to be able to create a regulatory framework that will first foster competition and also open the market to other players to come.
That's the point Davis was making, that as it is now, the conditions are not attractive in attracting other players into this market.
Yes, you are right, because the market has tipped to MTN. MTN has more than about 75% share of the market. And if we want to make the market attractive, if we want to make the market contestable, I think first we need to see that Airtel, this new entity, they are able to acquire new spectrums. They are able to also invest in their infrastructure so that they can also compete effectively with MTN. Granted that we have the competition law. So once there's enough competition, you see that the market becomes open and it becomes contestable. And that when there's a contestability in the market, then you can see others also coming in to also get some of the cake. As of now, there's no any interest for any company to enter into the Ghanaian telecom market because of the way the market has become.
And David, since I have you on, I've heard the Communications Minister Sam George say before many times that this AT problem is a problem that your government created and that he's simply sorting out the mess. You've applauded this particular approach. You concede that this is your doing, and this approach obviously was one that should have been thought of by your side earlier. It would have saved us a bit more of the bleeding that had gone on over the years.
Well, that's my challenge with the minister. I mean, he needs to stay focused. This over politicization of issues will not help. Airtel Tigo, I mean, you must look at the history of Airtel Tigo. These are private companies that merged together but could not stand the competition in the market and decided to leave. The government of the day took a bold decision that in order to save jobs, let's absorb it. We could not allow over 300 workers to go home. So I'm surprised that it keeps blaming the S1 government for causing this mess. What really did they do? Nothing. The challenges that confront us is that the bills, I mean, in terms of spectrum acquisition, in terms of a lot of the issues that confront the telcos have been decided by one party. And that is the challenge. How do we as a state find a way of easing the tensions for the telcos industry, for a lot more companies to come into our country? That should be the focus. That should be the forward movement. Not really blaming past government and all of that. We are not interested in that. But from the explanation, what really did the NPP government do? Two private companies came together. They were still struggling. Then they decided that let's leave. Government took a bold decision to save over 300 employees. What really has government done wrong?
Well, Davis, thank you very much. Davis Nsapoku is a member of the Information Communications Committee in Parliament. Pierre Kusia Domako is the West Africa Regional Director of CATS Ghana. And I want to hear from you because I know many of you still use AT or Telecel. Pearl, you use what?
I use MTN.
You use MTN, and so you definitely will have a say on this matter. Share with me at 055-11-11997. You're returning to our earlier story about the challenges at Ridge.
Yes, and of course, we learned that the hospital has been forced to receive medical attention on chairs due to a lack of beds at the facility, and this was made known when Parliament's Health Committee toured the facility today. We have Titus Bayu, Professor Titus Bayu. He's a member on the Health Committee of Parliament and also the board chair of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Good evening, and thank you for your time on Newsnight. What exactly was the aim of today's visit to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital?
Good evening, and good evening to our listeners. It's a part of our parliamentary duties as a committee, our oversight duties, to visit health facilities and other health institutions and see at first hand what is happening there, so it can guide our legislative processes, budget control processes, and our check on the executive to ensure that there is value and quality service delivery for all Ghanaians. So we've been touring health facilities across the country, and today it was the turn of the Ridge Hospital.
So we know that at the Ridge Hospital in particular, which you visited today, pregnant women are being forced to receive medical attention on chairs. Is that the only thing you observed there, or were there other issues?
So I think the first thing was that it was rather a positive note. We recognize the hard work, dedication, excellence of service delivery. The effort of the healthcare workers was very commendable. We commended the management for what they are doing with the resources they have, innovations they are putting to help their workers and ensure that in the midst of these infrastructural challenges, they can still deliver quality services. But indeed, there were challenges. We noticed significant challenges in their diagnostics, particularly imaging, where out of about 7 imaging modalities, about 2 to 3 were the only ones working. The hospital doesn't have a functioning CT scan, MRI, mammogram machine, fluoroscopy. So we see the prevalence of breast cancer in this country. And for such a huge hospital not to have the need to do mammogram, I think it's a big challenge. Then the bed issue was one, where because they have a policy not to turn patients away, they are forced to attend to patients even when they are full to capacity. You could see innovation there, where they use a functional bed situation, meaning you don't have medical bed, surgical bed, orthopedic bed. Every bed in the hospital must be occupied before they say the hospital is full. So when the hospital beds are full, it really means they are full to capacity. Then they have to attend to patients on chairs, and that was one of the challenges they raised.
You've mentioned that you observed that the hospital doesn't have a functioning CT scan, and also the issue of the beds, which you just mentioned. In the interim, what are you doing about it to ensure that you alleviate the plight of the people there?
So the first thing is that when we do this, we are a committee of the Speaker, Committee of Parliament. A report will be put together and submitted to the Speaker of Parliament. Recommendations will flow from there to the Minister responsible for health and the agency head. Because you know that we approve their budget. We want to see how they are using that to deliver these services. And so serious recommendations will come out of this. In particular, that hospital was very functional at full capacity if the phase 2 is able to come up. Physical space is a challenge. So even if they have more beds, where to place them may be an issue. So the permanent solution is to have the phase 2 development completed. A space has been earmarked for it, but since more than 8 years, that project has not come up. So it is one recommendation that I'm sure will go to the Speaker for onward transmission to the Executive.
And how soon should we expect this report to be put together?
As soon as we finish our talks like this, our clerks will put it together, leadership will take a look at it, and then submit same to the Speaker. But as you know, we are on recess, but parliamentary activities are still going on. So I expect that this report will be delivered within the shortest possible time. But if statements will emanate from it, debate will come on it on the floor of Parliament, that will only be when we review from the recess.
Professor Titus Bayo, thank you so much for your time on Newsnight.
You're still listening to News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM, and George Affe is here with business. And George, you obviously have multiple phone numbers, correct? With different networks.
No, I'm just using.
Use what?
I just use one now, and that is MTN.
Okay. You heard about the merger?
Yeah, the merger. There's some who are raising some interesting questions about it. We know that government owns a minority stake in Telecom, right? I don't know what the other majority stakeholders who might be private will make of this move. Are they going to sell it to them or what? And looking at the current state of AT, are they prepared to take on the whole entity as well? That is a very interesting event as well. So let's see how things will actually play up in the coming days event.
What do you have in your headlines for business?
Well, Evans, it appears that trading activities on the interbank market when it comes to Forex, it has picked up due to a slight surge in dollar auction or dollar support coming from the Bank of Ghana. And Evans, predictions that the price of gold could hit $5,000 an ounce from the current $3,500 if the current development in U.S. doesn't normalize soon. I'll be getting you more on that one. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
At Star Oil, we believe fuel is not just a commodity, it is a lifeline. Every cedi saved at the pump is a cedi that helps a mother send her child to school. A farmer transports food to the market, or a young entrepreneur deliver their first order. Our mission is to make fuel more accessible by offering consistently competitive prices, helping ease the financial burden on Ghanaian households. In a country where transportation costs can consume nearly a third of household income, this is not just business. It's a social responsibility. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
Are you clapping? Are you giving God the glory? Hallelujah! Every day you wake up shouting, my business is not moving. Customers are not coming. But look, my brother, my sister, who are you deceiving? Have you smiled today? Do you have the confidence to smile? Your face alone is chasing people away. Yeah! We all know that the problem is not a spiritual problem. The problem is a dental problem. She was saying, use Pepsodent charcoal toothpaste to remove yellow. Somebody shout amen.
Craft your smile with Pepsodent Charcoal. It removes stains and whitens teeth. This advert is FDA approved.
The luckiest. Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest. Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. Money we define every day and night. Mama, dada keep on hustling for the family. The luckiest. Last time 712 hash. You can win some cash. You can be the luckiest with 1 CD. Luckiest with 5,000. The luckiest. The teacher, doctor, market woman. You can be the luckiest. Oh, the luckiest. Luck is everywhere for everyone. You can be the luckiest. The luckiest. Luck is everywhere for everyone. Star 712 hash. Luck is everywhere. Luck is everywhere. Oh, tell me, are you feeling lucky? Because I'm feeling lucky. Because I'm feeling like the ultimate. That we go win. If I win, you win. You could be the luckiest. Saswabo. Sasso, sipumentonton prepo. Sasso, sipumentonton prepo. Edrana drumming every session. Yeah, how can see our name malaria? Minya me corn and miss a so spray. Every mosquito starting run away. Oh, come on, tonton preco. Sasso, miss a woman tonton preco. Oh, come on, tonton preco. Sasso, come tonton preco. Nani sham ne die, e demonstronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, interbank market activities when it comes to forex trading has finally picked up this week. We have more details in this report.
This is coming after what some market analysts describe as some slight pickup in terms of dollar supply from the Bank of Ghana. The central bank, after some absence from the market for a while this week, sold more than $200 million to the commercial banks under its forward auction program. This, together with the mining firms selling some of their inflows to the commercial banks. Yesterday, some $3.3 million exchanged hands on the interbank market. Some of the commercial banks have told Joy Business they are hoping the situation will improve slightly going forward in terms of the cedis performance. We are learning that demand for dollars were driven by corporates in the services sector. Some have told Joy Business that with recent measures being rolled out by the Bank of Ghana, as well as the expected cocoa board inflows, they think the worst might be over.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, meanwhile, economist Dr. Edu Osusakodie has described the current challenge of the city as temporary, insisting he is convinced by assurances coming from the Bank of Ghana. That's coming after a Bloomberg News report classified the city as one of the worst currencies in the world just for the third quarter of this year. Dr. Edu Osusakodie is pushing for more tough measures to enforce the country's foreign exchange laws.
In the shortest possible time, we have been assured by the central bank that they have enough reserves, both in dollars and in gold, to shore up the value of the cedi. Going forward, I think the medium-term plan should be intensify this de-dollarization efforts. We can demand for imports and also enforce the retention law. The BOG has a retention law where multinational percentage of their profit or retain a certain percentage of their profit in the economy. So I believe that that law and the long-term solution for me, as I've always indicated, is the ownership of economy, ownership of our exports. We export so much since 2017. We have been exporting more than we import. We have been recording surplus trade balance, positive trade balance. but the money is not in our hands. We export so much, and yet these commodities like the natural resource, they contribute little to our public finance. So as a country, we should find a long-term solution to our currency stability.
And that is economist Dr. Edu Owusu Sarkodie. Still on the city, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama, in a recent interview with Joy Business, described the current pressures on the city as a short-term blip, insisting the situation would normalize soon.
Over the last 2 months, for example, we have seen very limited interbank trading. And so you find that unless the central bank is there, supporting the market, then you would see pressure building up. So it's not surprising. What we are saying is not surprising. It's expected, but we are working on it. We are fixing it. We have liquid reserves. Remember, we are under an IMF program, so we are watching those benchmarks very well.
And when you spoke about reserves, over the past months, some are saying that when you look at your auctions, you were quite heavy on the market. And now we've seen a kind of clawback. Some are saying that, do you have enough dollars to meet market demand?
So when you talk about market demand, it doesn't have to be the central bank. Remember, the banks ought to have their own inflows that accrue through remittances, inflows that accrue through trade, certain inflows like from mining, for example, those accrue to us.
And that is the governor of the Bank of Ghana speaking in an earlier interview with Joy Business. Now, gold prices could hit $5,000 an ounce before the end of this year. Now, that's the forecast coming from U.S.-based investment banking giant Goldman Sachs, and has published notes to investors. The bank is basing its warning on the fact that the U.S. President Donald Trump, if he presses ahead with the current spat with the Federal Reserve, could actually threaten, and also threats to remove this chairman, could affect confidence in the dollar and let people move to gold as a safe haven for them. It is currently trading around $3,500 an ounce, and that is a record level when you look at the price of gold. And so even if this is actually going to work, well, some will say that it could actually improve our earnings from our gold exports for the country. To the Telecom Center, that is sector, the MTN Group, the visiting MTN Group President and Chief Executive Ralph Popoti has stated that the company's current priority is to drive financial inclusion through mobile money. Addressing the press, he clarified that expansion beyond that focus in full scale as a bank is not an immediate priority.
And the license is creating capabilities and having the capital to do certain things. So we don't see ourselves as a bank today, but let's not exclude that as a possibility in the future. If that happened, it was because there was a very good reason. Right now, there is no reason. But I wouldn't want to lead you to say we will be or we will not. It's just simply a function of how best do we serve our customers, that you then go and take some other form of license that you currently don't have. So what I think that is more useful is for us to think about the role that we have to play in driving financial inclusion.
Ralph Muputa is the group president and chief executive of MTN Group, engaging some journalists in Accra, Ghana, during his official duty tour. Now, Chief Executive of Star Health, Ronald Aponadom, has announced that the Star Health insurance team is fully prepared to serve the Ghanaian market with their comprehensive health insurance solutions. He made these remarks at the launching ceremony of Star Health, a subsidiary of Star Group.
3 years ago, the dream was conceived and we began working towards it. So Star Health Insurance has been delivering healthcare for the past 3 years. Today is an official launch to announce our presence to the Ghanaian market, that our doors are open and they have always been open for the last 3 years. At the moment, we have packages for corporates, organized groups. And for corporates and organized groups, to initiate a package, all you need to do is to have a minimum of 10 persons. Then you qualify for the corporate or grouping coverage. Then we also have coverages for families, or households, if I should put it. And that all you require is a minimum of 3 persons.
Chief Executive of Star Health, Ronald Aponadom. And Evans, how would you actually rate government fight against Galamsey?
That is one that the government itself knows is way below par in terms of the promises that were made and what has actually been done. since they won power.
Well, on PM Express Business Edition tonight, you'll be hearing the response of the acting chief executive of the Minerals Commission, Isaac Andrews Tando, responding to some of these things, what they've done, what is the rationale behind actually pushing to review the current mineral laws, and also the whole argument about ensuring that there wouldn't be any development agreement for the mining firms. It's at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms as you look at the Ghana's mineral and mining policy review. What is the rationale behind this on social media and all our platforms at 9 p.m. for PM Express Business Edition events.
Joe, thank you very much. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console. If AT is not profitable, collapse or sell it off. Why waste taxpayers' resources on business that is not yielding profit? Is AT not being forced on Telecom? Why are we even talking about saving of jobs when the nation is bleeding? Emmanuel from Adenta centers that one. And Otuo Abeka says with the current state of AT and the relatively smaller telecom sector, and talks about Telecel also, means MTN is having a field day. The merger will improve the competitiveness of the new entity and things will improve. No well-meaning person will oppose it. So have your news tonight is on Joy 99.7 FM.
Let's bring you politics now. And the New Patriotic Party has submitted video evidence to the Ghana Police Service demanding the immediate arrest of the NDC's National Vice Chairman, Sofo Azoka, and the party's Ebuaka North Constituency Communications Officer, Abdul Wahad Amadou, over allegations of physical assault during the Akwatia by-election. The NPP's Director of Communications, Richard Ahiajba, says the footage saved on a pen drive and shared with the Ghana Police Service captures Sofo Azoka and Abdul Amadou verbally assaulting and threatening Minority Leader Alexander Penyomarkin, NPP's National Organizer, Henry Nanabuach, and Minority Chief Whip, Frank Anodompre, among other misconduct. Richard Ahiajba, who submitted a formal petition to the police, described the incident as a serious breach of electoral conduct and called on the police to act swiftly.
We are interested in justice. Our coming here is designed to formally petition the IGP. We know the police saw it. The particular abuse of our third vice, Alhaji Usman Masaudu, was in the full glare of your cameras, and the police were there. To some point, they came in to separate, and the person who slapped Masaudu, our third vice, was restrained by the police after he slapped him. But strangely, the police didn't arrest him. A criminal act. The police saw it, they separated, which was good, but there was no action. And that's not how we want to carry on our country. Just as we're talking, if any of myself or my deputies go ahead to slap any of you here, it won't suffice just to separate and so don't slap him the second time, and that's it. So we want the police, as if they haven't seen it, we have brought it to their attention. Evidence on pen drive has been included with the petition. So if they haven't seen what you guys have dutifully circulated in the media, at least we have provided for them.
Well, we've heard from the NDC today. They've told us that they have initiated an internal investigation into the incident. Listen to the Deputy General Secretary, Mustafa Gbande.
It's too early for us to condemn statements. We ourselves as a party are doing investigation to understand what exactly took place, so that when we have appraised the issues and come to terms with what really occurred, then we can comment about it.
So are you saying that you are not privy to the videos in circulation, the one from your communication officer and Sofo Azoka?
I have seen videos, but even that, the law, natural justice, it is just fair that the other party is heard. You have not either heard from Apenyomarkin himself or his legal representation. You are hearing from a political party communicator and their director of communication. We are saying that as a party, we are also investigating the matter. We are going to ask our vice chairman what really transpired. We will analyze it together with the pieces of videos that we have seen. Then when you put the bit and pieces together, you can then take an informed position on the matter.
And that was the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Bande. While the Eastern South Regional Command of the Ghana Police Service has since launched investigations into the matter. My colleague Kenneth Josie joins me in the studio with details of the press statement released to that effect. Kenneth, what did the police say?
Well, Pal, it's a very short one, and I'm reading it.
It's a very short one, and I'm reading it verbatim. It says the Akwatia District Police Command on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, commenced investigations into an alleged assault on Alhaji Masaudu Osman at Akwatia. The complainant was issued with a police medical form to attend hospital for treatment, endorsement, and return same to police for further investigations. The case has since been referred to the Eastern South Regional Police Command for further investigations. So it's important to note that the investigation is on just one incident.
And for clarity, this incident is?
This is the alleged assault on Alhaji Masaudu Osman at Akwatia.
Okay, let's bring in Richard Ahiagba. He's the Director of Communications for the MPP. Mustafa Bande is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Richard, you had the police's statement. They've commenced investigations.
Yes. Thank you and good evening. Yes, that's good. We learned about that earlier today, and I think that is good. But like the clarification that you just suggests that it is specifically at the instance of Alhaji Masaudu who had gone to the police to lodge a complaint, and that's what they're looking into. But what the petition we have brought is more is broader than what the Akwatia District Command is investigating. So we encourage them to carry on with that. But what we have done here is to give a national focus to what we think was a criminal act in Akwatia. And I think it's the right thing to do, and we're going to pursue it and expect that the IGP will act on it.
The other individuals that you included in your statement as having been assaulted, why don't they simply file their own police reports?
No, the other instance is not about assault. It's about the threat of death against some three individuals, namely the Honorable Apollo Markins, the Honorable Amadonpre, and the national organizer of our party, Nana Boachi. So that's the other scope of it.
Yeah, have they filed reports with the police about these threats?
The individuals that I've just mentioned, I'm not sure they have, but as a political party, we have taken that step. It's up to them if they want to file any charges or want to lodge any complaint with the police.
And I asked that because in the other case where you just pointed out that the individual himself went ahead and filed the case, the police issues a statement very quickly to say we are looking into it. That tells you something, that these individuals, the threats were to themselves and on their per se. Isn't the right thing to do that they take this matter up themselves? Yes, the party can back them too.
Of course, that's for good measure they can do that. It doesn't stop the party from moving in this direction, because we are trying to cure a larger issue. Individually, they're probably trying to address matters relative to their welfare and well-being. But we are addressing an issue of a systemic nature to help our democracy rid itself of violence in our elections. So the two can happen alongside each other.
And Mustafa, you had said that your party, the NDC, is also doing its own internal investigations. Where are you with that?
Thank you very much. As indicated in the afternoon, the General Secretary and National Chairman of my party just came in Accra this morning. We have not yet met as a body. I think in the shortest possible time, as reasonable as it is due to the agency of issues, I'm sure we'll meet and then conclude on what we have picked so far. I think also that Richard and his party is just being alarmist about the situation, just so we cannot discuss the gains that we have made from this election. Evans, you will agree with me that for the first time, we have had a by-election and both parties, full soldiers, have not engaged in any form of altercation or any form of unlawful conduct, but rather we've had senior officers of the two political parties doing what we all are dealing with now. And so for me, on top of my head, we should applaud ourselves whilst we deal with the remnants of the issues that have come, but also taking into consideration that these are national vice chairmen, the highest office of the political parties. And so in dealing with it, because Peace Council have explored measures to bring the two political parties together due to suspicion it hasn't worked in the past, we can now activate our inter-party relationship to be able to deal with some of these issues as the apex end to political violence whenever we have, issues of this nature. Particularly when we all know the one that regards to honorable opinion markings and the rest is just a war of words.
Yeah, and on that particular subject, though, the Peace Council had told us that they are really open to meeting both of you. Now that you've suggested it, we'll see how that pans out. But Mustafa, thank you very much. Richard also. Let's do some sports now.
Evans, many Ghanaians have expressed disappointment following the Black Stars' 1-1 draw against Chad earlier today. Some of them have accused the sports minister of being the reason behind the team's abysmal performance earlier today, saying that he disrupted the team with his announcement of the team's budget on Monday.
Interesting indeed. More of this on many social media platforms.
Well, Ghana will soon begin acquiring or building its own diplomatic offices across the world as a new cabinet directive takes effect. President Mahama today said the country cannot continue spending more than $15 million every year on renting properties abroad for diplomatic use. Speaking during the commissioning of new ambassadors and high commissioners, he said Cabinet has approved an initiative to move from renting to developing Ghana's own properties.
Integrity must be your watchword. The Public Financial Management Act and all relevant regulations must guide your stewardship of public resources that are put in your care. I urge you to guard the public purse with diligence and ensure that efficiency, service, and ethical governance, the very values we're entrenching at home, shine through in every mission abroad. Let me be emphatic. Ghana cannot continue spending a staggering more than $15 million every year on renting properties abroad for our diplomatic use. This is not a judicious use of taxpayers' resources, and the reset agenda requires an immediate reversal of this trend. And that is why Cabinet has promptly approved the STRIDE initiative. And STRIDE refers to the strategic transition from rental to developing our own properties. I've tasked the Ministers for Foreign Affairs and Finance to work urgently to resolve this long-standing challenge. From my latest briefing, a transaction advisor has been appointed, standard designs are being developed, and funding mechanisms are already being negotiated. This decisive shift will ensure that our missions abroad are housed in properties that are owned by the Republic, reducing wasteful expenditure while safeguarding Ghana's dignity on the international stage.
So we end News Night on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Pelo Furi.
And my name is Evans Mens, and this evening we'll bring you a playback of the personality profile conversation Lexis had with CEO of Stratcon, Esther Kopner. You want to stay with us here on Joy 99.7 FM.